It's David in H-Town. And he texted me a link to an article from Ross Dellinger, a Twitter X post. And this should tell you the escalation of the Brendan Sorsby case. Okay, this is just in. This just in. The Texas Attorney General sent a formal letter to the Big 12 today, alerting the conference that Texas Tech would take action against any league sanctions. Because the conference met and they talked. And at the end, you know what they did? They talked some more. No action was taken. But the Texas Attorney General, again, sent a formal letter to the Big 12 just now, or it's becoming public just now, informing the conference that Texas Tech, and here's what's interesting to me. Who cares what action Texas Tech takes? Is the Attorney General saying they're on Texas Tech's side? That they would work on the behalf of Texas Tech? Or is the Attorney General notifying the Big 12 that Texas Tech had notified the Attorney General that Texas Tech would be taking action? Because that's two different things. Because if the Texas Attorney General said, hey, we're going to have to, I'd like to know the clarification on that. But just so you'll know, that's the latest on Brendan Sorsby, that Tech has told the Attorney General that we, Texas Tech, will take action against the Big 12 if the Big 12 takes action against us. By the way, I've been fascinated how Texas Tech has doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on one of the worst positions and stances in the history, I think, of college athletics. Any sport, any debate, any situation ever. We have, from yesterday, the head coach saying it's not like he killed anyone, which is one of the worst takes we have heard in 2026 on anything in college athletics. It's not like he killed anyone. Well, my bad. Now I understand it. Why did we ever suspend Sorsby? Man, we're idiots. It's not like he killed anyone. If I'm Texas Tech, I think I would immediately shut up. You've won for now. And the more anyone, head coach, AD, billionaire alums talk, the dumber, the worse, the more horrific and just bad it is. If I'm Texas Tech, I won. Shut up. But that's not the Texas Tech way. Somehow they need to gloat and make it worse, or try and justify something that's unjustifiable, make it worse. Like, they see a fire and they put a gas can in each hand and they're walking dead into it at every step, is Texas Tech. They're escalating. They've won and they could de-escalate. They could just do that. Well, we're letting the courts just take their legal, we're letting the legal process run its course. They could just repeat that. We don't feel like we can comment at this time as the legal system's handling it. They could have just done that every step, every person. No. Just no. It's got to be Texas Tech. Remember, classless clowns. Texas Tech. If you know your Aggie history, which Rusty Burson at 1 o'clock, very heavily involved with that story, if I'm not mistaken. If you know your history, you understand that reference. Classless clowns. And this would be another classless clown moment in Texas Tech history. Fascinating question for you. What is the top story in Aggie land sports? I asked this question this morning because in my base instinct, anything Aggie football, Texas A&M bought a new 6-pack of soda. That should be your lead in sports, basically. Anything Aggie football is kind of the lead at all times. But two other things popped up on the Lou Bellino universe radar. One, Aggie baseball is a pitching coach. And it's a very intriguing hire. Aggie baseball went and hired their pitching coach, Barry Enright. Spent the last 7 years in professional baseball, Diamondback, Angels, Athletics Organization. He had a stint as the Angels Major League pitching coach, 24-25. Brian Browninger first to report it. Richard Zane had some follow-up. He retired from MLB in 2019, then went into the pitching coach, universe. Diamondbacks, Angels, A's, different levels for all three. He was the director of pitching for the A's. So A&M dipping back into the pro pitching coach universe again. Last time they did it, I think it worked pretty fantastic. So I find it to be an intriguing hire for Coach Early. For me, and people ask, who do you think the pitching coach? Who are the names you're hearing, things like that? And I go, look, with baseball and coaches, of all the sports, seriously too, basketball, it's easier to grade a hire. Football is the easiest. Dave Bartu College Football Matrix, every coach has a grade in football. And then you can fit systems and personnel. Football is the easiest. But baseball, you bring in a coach from a major league organization, impossible to grade. You can look at the resume, does not predicate success or failure. You can bring in a mid-major. And a lot of these Sun Belt baseball teams, you call them a mid-major. Well, guess what? There's P4 teams that are less P4 than some of these Sun Belt teams. So results will. I just find myself happy that they have a pitching coach so that they can get started getting pitchers in the portal. I'm very basic that way, to be fair and honest with you. So the question, anything football is your top story, but it's a schedule. Aggie Baseball has a pitching coach, but there's actually, bizarrely enough, like a third option of what the top story could be. I think the last time I talked NBA here on the Louis Bellina Show presented by CC Electric was like 48 years ago. But last night, I'm minding my own business, and I get a text message. Ryan Starr, who tomorrow on Chip Howard Sports Talk, he hosts every Friday, and usually it seems like he has a small universe army of people that might host with him. But Ryan Starr is the hugest NBA fan, Rockets to be specific. And he likes to ask me NBA questions because he knows I won't answer them. And he's like, Houston's no longer Choke City. I don't know what he's talking about. The Astros had a dynasty. What's Choke City in that? Rockets won 2 NBA championships back in my day when I used to watch the NBA. I was at games in both those runs. So that Choke City thing's been dead a long time in my universe, my world anyway. And he goes, Spurs were up 29 and lost. And I'm like, that's not possible because it's the NBA Finals, right? And how in the NBA Finals, if you went that far, that statement is not possible. No NBA Finals team, if you're at that level, if you're in the NBA Finals, you're allegedly good, right? Can blow a 29-point lead. It's just not humanly possible. Like, it's never happened before. So my text back to Ryan was, are we talking basketball? Maybe there's another Spurs. Maybe the UFL was still playing. I don't know what it was, but it couldn't have been basketball, right? Nope. Spurs had a 29-point lead in the third quarter, lost 107-106, 1 second left on the clock. It was the greatest comeback. I don't look at it as the greatest comeback. I look at it as the greatest choke job in the history of the NBA Finals. So, of course, I got to go check this out on my timeline. And that video of the end of the game is one of the worst things I know for this year, but that's like shrinking it. The De'Aaron Fox attempted layup is at just under 8 seconds left. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't have to be an NBA expert. It just showed a lack of coaching. He looked like he was just playing AAU. Zero coaching, zero instinct, zero discipline. You can't even say heat of the moment. I have zero explanation. He lost track of time. Many times you can make an excuse, no matter how bad of an excuse or how flimsy. It's weak sauce. But that one has nothing. Like, it was just selfish, undisciplined. I want to print out his bio and look at all the stops he's made, starting with his first Pee Wee basketball team. Because he grabs that ball and stands still. They win, right? Just stand still. If he grabs the ball, dribbles it out, grabs the ball, stands still. There's probably a list of, at that moment when he touches the ball, 5 things he could have done. But he picked the 6th. And that's the only one. I mean, there's 7. He could have just thrown it out of bounds because he had like a seizure at the time. But no instinct, no discipline, no coaching, AAU, modern athlete moment. It was horrific. Because I wanted to know how. And there's a million decisions before that. That's just the final one. I had to go read, and it was NBA. So reading about it was so painful because the NBA is dead to me. But when they got up by that 29 or they were up 28, did they really shoot 8 threes in a row? Oh, the horror. The freaking horror. They shot 8 threes in a row at that point. So there were many regretful decisions, but that, and I guess that's the highlight and clip I have. So that's the one, was just everything wrong. So let me ask a question. I need to take a timeout. It's okay. We're just getting started. But sometimes even a non-maroon and white moment can transcend the maroon and white universe. But did De'Aaron Fox and the Spurs do that? Or is our top story today A&M Baseball as a pitching coach? What's your thoughts? Barry Enright. Yes, no. Excited, neutral, where are you at? Or Aggie Football. Looks like we got a schedule. I am fascinated by that. It's not a joke. I'm considering the time of the year. But what is your top story as we begin our day together here on the Louis Bellina Show as I sit inside the Charles Schwab studio? We'll explore that. There's so much more. Allegedly, doesn't sports go dead in the summer? Au contraire, mon frere. This is the Louis Bellina Show on the Zone.
The Louis Bellina Show. Dial 979-693-1150. Hello. To visit with him. Hello. Or to win. Hello. On the D4 Land Services Hotline. Dial 979-693-1150.
Yes. Yesterday, the SEC revealed possible and potential times for the SEC 2026 schedule. I always say we get so excited with these announcements. I do. I'll admit it. And it's potential times because we're so deep into the offseason, yet we see the light. There's a tunnel and there's light at the end of it. And for the first time, we're not just in the tunnel, we see light. SEC Media Days, I think it's 5 weeks. Right at 5 weeks. SEC Media Days are the signpost that the new season has begun. Off season is no longer off. New season has begun. 4 straight days, a coach is telling you they're young. Coach is telling you, SEC Media Days are really phenomenal time. Here on the Louis Bellina Show, the way we do SEC Media Days, week 1, we listen to every coach. Week 2, we listen to one player from every team. Let's go. And when we get these times and stuff, we get that speculation, the mind, imagination gets to wander. A&M's 12-0 and national champs. Let's go. Here's what we learned yesterday. We kind of knew the early times. Missouri State's at 6. Arizona State's at 11. That's a shame. Kentucky's 2:30. Here's what we learned. Citadel. Circle your calendars. October 10th, everyone. Right in the middle of Oktoberfest. Is that the middle or end? Oktoberfest. Missouri, the Citadel game is at 12 o'clock. And Texas has been Black Friday, Friday night, prime time, exclusive window. Let's go. Is at 6:30. We knew that. Here's what we learned. A&M will not have a single home conference game at 11. Kyle Field is special. Kyle Field is magical. Kyle Field is when the Aggies are good, is one of the best home field advantages in football. 11 o'clock is an equalizer. Sorry, 11 o'clock crowds are not as good as 2:30 and 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock crowds. I believe that to be a fact. 11 o'clock crowds kill tailgating. 11 o'clock crowds kill the economy in our town. I don't know if the A&M football teams remember to wake up in time for 11 o'clock games. I hate 11 o'clock home games, always will. A&M has no home conference games at 11. Arizona State Citadel, that's 11 and 12, which I confuse the 12 with 11. That hour doesn't make a big difference to me. But in SEC play, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas are all home games. Okay? So Kentucky's 2:30. We already know that. The Arkansas game is a flex. What does flex even mean? 2 slots, possibly. It's afternoon or evening. You can get a 2:30, 3:30 game. But then again, from 5, technically, till 7. Because they got ESPN, ESPN2, ABC. There's like 3 different windows. You get one of those too. So, we already know Kentucky hosting 2:30. Bingo. Then when A&M hosts Arkansas, it's a flex. When A&M hosts Tennessee, flexing. And that A&M Tennessee is going to be somewhere. If I was betting money, which I don't anymore, but I used to. When A&M hosts Tennessee, that's a night game. I don't know if it's ESPN, ESPN2. It's too good to be a SEC Network night game. A&M Tennessee, make that the blackout game too, by the way, if we're voting. Have you voted on which game you think should be the blackout game yet? Anyway, give me the 6:45. Yeah, I'm good enough with that. So that's a win. Not taking any of your home games and killing your home crowd potential with 11 in conference play, win. Now the reverse is when you go on the road, I think you want to play at 11. Throw off their home crowd. Make it less than their potential. And A&M has 2 road games that are going to be at 11. When they go to Missouri, it's an early game, 11-12. When they go to Oklahoma, early game, 11-12. That's a win. Absolute win to have 0 at home, 2 on the road. After that, these afternoon, evenings, that's the normal. 2:30 or 6-ish, is the norm for me. So I think A&M won with the announcements we got last night. And to know that Kyle Field, once we had SEC play, that will only have 2. There was a year, and I'm sorry I didn't write down the number. There were 4 games that were in the early slot because it was like 2 non-con and 2 in con. That is horrific. If you're a home person, if you're an Aggie, if you're a Kyle Field attendee, 4. Now, it doesn't mean your team stinks. Remember, I say this continuously. ESPN, ABC, Disney, the Mouse values their 11 o'clock ESPN game. They wanted to compete with Fox's big noon game. And they usually take about the 3rd best game of the day and slot it there so they can pull the SEC fan base and numbers. So, you got to be pretty good to play that time slot. You got to be the 3rd best game of the day. And A&M got like 2 of their games put there because it wasn't Alabama, Georgia, but it was a really good game. So A&M had their 2 Muttfest non-cons at 11 and then like 2 conference games. I'm pretty sure, I didn't do that 100% thing, but there was a year where there was like 4. Home games are few. The football season is fleeting. I value every moment. I value every game. So even having like 1 at 11, and I know a lot of people like, dude, it's Citadel, but do you party any hardier less? Is like the ribs, the steak, the hamburgers, the hot dogs any less tasty? Do you value that time with your friends any less? You shouldn't. To me, this is all precious. You don't know how many seasons you're going to get. You don't know what the future holds. I mean, the way the price of everything's going up, one day you might not be able to afford to tailgate. So I just look at everything as priceless. So these 11s, Also, I'm a big fan of our local businesses and our local economy. And 11 is just like death, man. It's horrible. Enough of that. So I give Ross from east of East Texas texted me really early on, 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. And he said, Lou, what do you think about the schedule time draws for Aggie football? Pretty favorable from my view. Absolutely. I'm not sure how it could be much better, to be fair with you. Because if you were to ask me for one thing and one thing only, and the only thing that kind of matters, no 11 o'clock games at all, didn't get it. Number 2, no conference games at 11. Got it, check, I'm happy, I'm good. At that point, I'm fine. But then it's like a bonus to get road conference games at 11. That was like just piling on for me at that point. But no home conference games at 11, sign me up, please. Couldn't be happier. That was just win all over. And with A&M end of the year, that at OU short weekend to Texas is a brutal combo. Is OU really a top 10 team? Can they overcome Mateers, their quarterback, to go to the college football playoff? There's a lot of questions out there. That's going to be a physical, brutal game. Love it's at 11. Take any edge you can get. Love it's at 11. So, I thought it was a great schedule announcement for Texas A&M. I kind of chuckled, like going inside the schedule. So A&M at Baton Rouge is a flex. LSU only plays, and I mean only plays at night. We already know that's some slot 6:30, or 6:45. You try and give LSU a day game, they send the schedule back to you. Here's my predictions. A&M LSU, ESPN Network family won't be SEC Network, so it's ESPN, ESPN2. Sure, it could hit ABC, probably not. I don't know. It's early enough that LSU might not be a wreck yet. A&M will be undefeated. Yeah. A&M will be undefeated at that point. That's a 6:30, ESPN, ESPN2. Arkansas, Texas A&M. Depending on the state of Arkansas, because they could be 0-4 at that point. That's a SEC Network game. And is that the 3 o'clock window? We already know A&M Missouri, 11-12. Fair enough. Citadel's at noon. A&M Alabama, 6 o'clock ESPN, baby. A&M South Carolina afternoon. That's an SEC Network game. Classic, too. 3 o'clock. A&M Tennessee, 6:30. A&M OU, 11, ABC. Go against the big noon kickoff. So that's what I see. And in conclusion, i.e., henceforth, thus with, great schedule times. Great for A&M. I love it to death. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. It's the Maroon and White Notebook Hour here on the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Built on faith, family, and community. That's CC Electric.
Your home for Texas A&M football is Sports Radio 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. The Zone. The Zone.
The Louis Bellina Show. Thursday, inside the Charles Schwab studio. Support for you. I mean, if you want to go at Mark Sim and Charles Schwab, and Mark Sim's right here in College Station, so you get that local feel. Yeah, you get the full support of Charles Schwab, all the years, all the experience, all the greatness, but yet you get the local because Mark Sim's right here. You get to walk into his office. You get to shake his hand, look him in the eye. That's how I like to do business. Support with Schwab, you get that modern approach to wealth management, but they have the flexibility to adapt as your needs change with time, and they will in ways you've never imagined. So they've been there, done that. You don't have to do the worrying. They've got your back. Look them up. Learn more. Schwab.com/College Station. Maroon and White Notebook, first hour together on a Thursday in Aggie football time. Well, we've looked at the schedule. Great draw. I think it's fantastic for Aggie football 2026. But Phil Steele Magazine, legend, did his All-American list, and Mario Craver was second team All-American. Wide receiver might be the most competitive position this year as far as what All-American lists go. The top playmakers in all of college sports this year are all at the wide receiver position. Earlier this week, maybe last week, I do all kinds of prep for the college football season. It's not just A&M prep, SEC prep. I love college football. And The top playmakers, Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State wide receiver, is probably the top playmaker in all of college football. You know who the number 2 playmaker, and this is all positions, regardless. Normally it's all quarterbacks, but like Jeremiah Smith is 1. Malachi Toney, wide receiver, is 2. So like the top 2 playmakers in all of college football are both wide receivers. Number 3 is where maybe Colin Sims or whatever, the edge at Texas, but Cam Coleman at Texas might be. It is wide receiver might be the best position in college football entering this season. And normally I think we say quarterback every year, but I think it's wide receiver this year. So you see second team All-American. That is really high praise, a high ranking. Because first team All-American, look at the top 3 names at wide receiver. Jeremiah Smith, Malachi Toney, Cam Coleman. And for Mario Craver, right off the bat, he was an All-American last year till he got injured. I keep saying that. When he got injured in the last month, he lost that momentum, but he was an All-American until he got injured. That was the year he was having, and much of that got forget. That's helpful. Much of that is forgotten with the way A&M season ended and losing to Texas and other things. But that was the season that Mario Craver was having. So, anyway, moving along. But congrats to him. And that is Craver's potential. Second team All-American, when you look at the top end at wide receiver, is pretty high praise. I did mention, I think that's the top. I saw, let me pull this up here. Yeah. There was a ranking of the top wide receivers heading into the season. Okay, fine. And you got Jeremiah Smith at 1, Malachi Toney 2, Cam Coleman at 3. Texas has 2 of the top 10 wide receivers in the country. Cam Coleman at 3 and Ryan Wingo at 9. Indiana has number 4 and 5 and Becker's 4 with Nick Marsh at 5. Think about teams that have 2 of the top 10 just to start. Your quarterback, how big of an advantage, like you started with that leg up. Texas has 3 and 9 with a quarterback who broke out over the second half of the season. With Texas, it's simple. If their O-line is average, they're probably going to win 11 games. If their offensive line is just average, they don't have to be top 10 in the country. They don't have to be A grade. They just have to not suck. That's the mission for the Texas O-line. Don't stink. And then that's the rest of the weapons they have. And they went and got like the number 1 running back in the portal and another top 10. So that's perspective. Now, games start and players don't live up to potential, and you've heard the hype before, but that's the hype going in. You have the leading Heisman Trophy candidate, 2 of the top 10 wide receivers, number 1 running back out of the portal. The O-line just has to be C+ or higher, be average. The Indiana one caught me off guard. We know they're the defending national champs, but number 4 and 5 wide receivers, they only rank like the top 13. On the honorable mention list, Mario Craver, Texas A&M. A&M's potential on offense is insane because you have Mario Craver. That's your foundation. And we know Isaiah Horton and his potential. It got real weird when I started saying this out loud, but Craver and Horton's potential is based on Marcel's potential, which is partially based on how the new O-line comes together, but all of it is also based on what a new offensive coordinator looks like. And I just said based on a whole lot versus normally you have facts. Right? Normally, you know, this is returning. This is established. We know because they've done it before. But Craver and Horton is based on, does Marcel get better? Part of Marcel getting better is definitely based on how the new 4 offensive linemen come together. Because as a unit, they're all new, even though you have 1 returning, right? So everything with the two wide receivers is based on Marcel. I've said before, Marcel, everyone says he needs to cut down on turnovers. I think he needs to cut down on the number of plays he just throws away. There's down-to-down plays that he just doesn't make. And I'll bet you money if he just made the down-to-down plays, you wouldn't notice as many turnovers. The offense needs to be more consistent, because even in games that they'd score 40-something and score 21 points in the third quarter, did you ever notice they didn't pick up a first down in the second quarter, though? Dragging teams with them too long? I think they need to be more consistent, and that's Marcel. As Marcel go, the offense go. And it doesn't mean, wait a minute, when they score 60 points a game, Marcel needs to quit just having those throwaway plays, just missing open receivers for no reason at 5 yards. So Craver can be an All-American, and if he is, Horton's going to blow up if they have to triple team Mario, and they have the wide receiving core depth, but that's all based on Marcel, who that's based on the O-line for new, but all of it is based on a first-year offensive coordinator. And that's a lot of based on. That's a lot of based on. Moving on. Man, A&M, so much talent. Holman Wiggins, I think, is a talent. Marcel's a talent. The entire wide receiving core is a talent. But it's all potential. But there's a lot of talent in there. I found this because the top playmakers, fascinating list. I mentioned Jeremiah Smith, Malachi Toney, Colin Simmons, Edge, Texas, and Kawan Lacey, running back, Ole Miss. Those are like the top 5. Something to think about. We've seen this quarterback rankings many times. This is a good list, though. They did it by tiers. I believe in tiers. Trying to differentiate 2 from 5 is kind of funny. That just means it's your personal preference. And the first tier is your Heisman Trophy candidates. Dante Moore, Arch Manning, nothing new. Trinidad Chambliss, Darian Mensah, Julian Sayin, CJ Carr. That's all standard. That's everyone, everything. And the only 2 they put on there that I have some issues with, Jaden Mavia, USC, and Josh Hoover at Indiana. Those are the only 2 that, sure. Those are the only 2 that I have a dispute with. I mean, okay, you know what? Why not have a couple of dark horses? Their second tier was all conference caliber vets. All conference caliber vets. That's the only the second tier. And Marcel Reed was on that list. And I think that's accurate. Is that an insult that he's on the second tier? Is it an insult that tier is called all conference caliber vets? And they even say, you know what the first sentence is? Reed is capable of flexing up into Heisman contender. Reed is capable of flexing up into the Heisman contender tier if he cuts back on turnovers and continue to improve his efficiency as a passer. Straightforward. Nailed it, right? That's why I love this tier. But they did say something. Triggered me. He's a good freelancer, but he's not quite a Johnny Manziel level playmaker. I find that line to be extremely insulting. I think maybe it's like one of those throwaway internet quips where maybe you think you're being witty or funny, but he's not quite a Johnny Manziel level playmaker. Please tell me who is a Johnny Manziel level playmaker. I can take all 8 quarterbacks, Moore, Manning, all of them. Moore, Manning, Sayin, Chambliss, Mensah, Carr. I think the closest to Johnny Manziel level playmaker might be Chambliss, and not consistently, and he only did it down the stretch, maybe only in the playoff, and that's a small sample size. Johnny Manziel is the greatest quarterback in A&M history. I think he had the greatest one season, not career, one season in SEC history. So, not a single quarterback probably in D1 football this year is Johnny Manziel level playmaker. it makes me ponder if the author, how much Manziel he watched, or did he just see the clips that we've all seen? I think that's unfair. I think that's an unfair shot to compare almost anyone to say he's not quite a Johnny. I could take that one and stamp that over like almost 99% of all quarterbacks that play. I have criticisms of Marcel. I've said them here. I hope that, they're honest and fair, but that's not a fair comment. I don't think so. I think it's fair to put him on the all-conference caliber vet tier, and they even say, hey, he could punch up easily to Heisman contender, but that Manziel comment, I'm not good with it. Let's go out to the D4 Land Services hotline. Eric joins us. What's up, Eric?
Hey, we've got 3 offensive linemen from SEC schools.
4.
Can Elko unlock their hidden potential? And when you compare, Manziel's style, you gotta respect the fact that, we didn't have an X receiver last year, and now we've got a couple that can go up and get it. And Manziel really looked good and shine when he had somebody who could actually he could throw up there and he could come down with the ball, even the double or triple coverage. So, super important, All
right, Eric, I appreciate the call. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out. Can Elko unlock the potential? I mean, I know what the question is. I'll say that I believe in Adam Cushing. I believe in him 100%. I will tell you, comes in year 1. They don't even have a full year, right? It's not 12 months. And what he did with the year before was one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen at A&M. Not exaggerating for effect. They were awful. And what he did in the time he had in the first year under Elko, until you give me data, until he gives me more data points to prove otherwise, I'm all in. I'm a believer. He gets every benefit of the doubt of his abilities until I get something to tell me he can't. So I believe in Adam Cushing, 1,000,000%. Because what he did in that transition period, and if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it every offensive lineman? They didn't bring in 5 new. And he took, and now we know you blame the old line coach and the system and just horrible schemes and stuff, but that's fine. He fixed all of it in no time. And they didn't just become serviceable. They weren't just I mean, he made them bad men in a very short amount of time. So can Elko unlock him and Cushing? I believe the answer is yeah. We saw that unit get better. So I'm a believer. Yeah, I think the answer is absolutely. I don't have any reason to doubt they can, would be my answer. When we come back, done. Got to wrap up our first hour together on a Thursday. It's the Louis Bellina Show, but you probably know that. If not, yeah, it is. Trust me. I know. My name's on the title. It is the Louis Bellina Show, presented by CC Electric. Residential, commercial, industrial services. It's what they do at CC Electric.
The Yankees are ready to finish what they started. Bring the noise.
Bring the noise.
TexAgs Live has the coverage on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louis Bellina Show. I'm still sticking with Thursday. We're done with our first hour together. Still to come, A&M legend, Coach G. I know he's here. I saw him. I'm a witness. We're going to talk World Cup. It all begins today. There's 2 matches in Mexico. Team USA gets underway. Paraguay, LA tomorrow. And we're just going to have some fun. Always a great day when you get to hang out with Coach G. Coming up at 1 o'clock, Rusty Burson. He's an Aggie historian and an author. And we hang out, we catch up. He'll be on the D4 Land Services hotline. That is 1 o'clock each Thursday. Have you ever thought to yourself, man, forestry mulching, where do I go? Pond construction, I need help. I need a custom metal building. And like from the ground up, well, D4 Land Services can help you. And, we live in a modern world. There's these things called websites. They're on the whole interweb, and, your computer screen changes and all this information pops up. You can go to d4landservices.com. d4landservices.com. A quick advisory. I'm getting tons of text messages. Once your text goes over 3 sentences, call me. because I can't read a novel on air.
The flagship station for Aggie Athletics is The Zone. Whenever the Aggies are playing, you can hear them right here at 1150 and 93.7. Thanks to our Aggie broadcast sponsors who make it happen. Amarillo National Bank, locally owned, family strong, and here to stay. Schulte Roofing, home of the bulletproof roof guarantee. And Rudy's Barbecue, real Texas barbecue. Listen to the games on The Zone 1150 and 93.7 FM.